It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Thursday, February 5th. I'm Mac Watson. Wyoming Senate President Bo Biteman tells Cowboy State Daily that he's considering a run for Wyoming's U.S. House. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Biteman has formed an exploratory committee to look into a campaign.
Wyoming Senate President Bo Biteman is looking seriously at a U.S. House run. If he does run, that would pit him against Secretary of State Chuck Gray, Casper businessman Reed Reisner, former public instruction superintendent Jillian Balow. So it would become a four-way race for that Republican nomination. Biteman actually dropped that seriously looking tagline during a broader interview.
Two of Wyoming's three seats in Congress face a shakeup this year as incumbent U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis announced in December that she's not running for re-election to the upper chamber. And speaking of Wyoming politics, Tom Kelly, a freshman lawmaker from Sheridan, who's also a college professor, announced Wednesday he's running for superintendent of public instruction. Cowboy State Daily's Claire Farland reports that Kelly arrived in Wyoming in 2019.
Tom Kelly's a longtime educator. He worked in public school. He's been a college professor. He's been in university administration. And so he ran for this seat in a couple different ways back in 2022. He made the Republican nomination when Jillian Balow left early. And then Governor Gordon did not appoint him, choosing Brian Schrader instead. And so Tom Kelly actually ran that year for the Republican nomination, withdrawing early as it shaped into a two-way race between Schrader and Dagenfelder. He told me on Wednesday, I want to continue some of Dagenfelder's work. I want to favor school choice, but stay within the confines of the Constitution.
Representative Kelly, who has a master's degree in education and a PhD in political science, is a college professor and administrator who chairs the American Military University's Department of Political Science, Public Administration, and Public Policy. The newly unveiled USDA portal that tracks foreign-owned ag land in the United States has been hailed by GOP lawmakers, as well as Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins, as a good step in the right direction. Cowboy State Daily's Kate Meadows reports that real estate agents, however, don't seem as concerned with this issue.
A new USDA online portal for reporting foreign-owned agricultural land is sparking some debate in Wyoming between politicians and real estate brokers and land experts and landowners. The politicians are saying no matter how much foreign land is owned in Wyoming, even if it's a small little bit, we should be concerned and we should know who owns it and why. Real estate agents say they very rarely deal with foreign entities trying to buy land. The USDA has been collecting information regarding foreign ownership of agricultural lands since the late 1970s. But this online portal is relatively new.
The online portal, launched by the USDA in January, is meant to streamline reporting of transactions involving U.S. agricultural land by foreign entities and represents a broader trend of increased federal scrutiny of foreign investments in the United States, as well as agriculture and forest lands. BioLife Plasma Services abruptly closed two of its three Wyoming locations on Tuesday. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson reports that clients who said they depend on the money from selling plasma say the no-notice move is a gut punch to their budgets.
Nobody knows why they shut down. They say to optimize their operations. Apparently, that's what they say every time they shut something down, because I looked to see what other BioLife places have been closed recently and within the past year, and other outlets reporting on their local BioLife outlets being shut down abruptly. The thing that is a little different about this is a place where people are kind of strapped for cash, people who kind of use this as a supplemental income, not for huge amounts of money, but for enough to tide them over.
Casper resident Andy Thole tells Cowboy State Daily that selling plasma is a simple medical procedure that fills an important gap in his monthly budget. I'll be back with more news from Cowboy State Daily right after this.
Life's biggest moments include new independence and decisions that shape the future. At Hilltop Bank, we're here to make big steps possible. From first cars to future dreams, we're here to help you move forward. Because no matter where life takes you, we're here every step of the way. Hilltop Bank, Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Wyoming will gain over 70 minutes of daylight in February as solar spring begins, which will make days longer and warmer. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that meteorologists say that can lead to massive amounts of wet, heavy snow, like the kind that paralyzed Cheyenne 5 years ago.
The big question is, when we've already had such a subpar winter in terms of snowfall and temperatures, will this gradual and unavoidable increase in temperature and daylight decrease the chances we have of getting significant snowfall? And that's kind of a mixed bag. We haven't had access to a lot of good weather systems this winter. And if that continues, then it's kind of a lost cause. But the benefit is that as there's more sunlight, the air gets warmer. And if you get a system that's a mix of cold Arctic air and moist Pacific air, it'll be warmer when it reaches Wyoming. So you'll get a lot of wet, heavy snow. And that's the best kind of snow because it sinks into the ground faster and doesn't evaporate as much.
Solar spring officially stretches from February 5th to May 5th every year. The Northern Hemisphere has been steadily gaining daylight since December 21st, the winter solstice. But this 3-month period is when the gains become much more noticeable, especially in the evening. A state judge's mixed decision on Monday will allow redevelopment to continue at Hot Springs State Park and also lets the Star Plunge lawsuit proceed. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that the judge's decision leaves the popular swim park in limbo.
Even though Star Plunge doesn't own any of the rest of the park or have any contractual interest in the rest of the park, Star Plunge had argued that it could be harmed if work proceeded in the rest of the park and changed the character of the park. But those are speculative harms, and typically in legal cases, speculation about potential harm doesn't fly. They don't trigger injunctions. The harms have to be real and imminent. In this case, the judge agreed with the state on that point. However, it did not agree with the state that there's no case here. It's just saying, yes, there's enough of a claim here for this case to proceed, and no, it can't just be tossed, and no, we can't just lift the injunction.
The ruling also means Star Plunge will remain closed until the court case is finally resolved. Star Plunge's owner, Roland Looney, tells Cowboy State Daily that this translates to tens of millions of dollars lost from Thermopolis and the surrounding communities. An Arizona man settled what was originally a $25 million defamation suit versus the Jackson Hole News and Guide over the paper's claims he'd abused his son. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that the paper published an apology.
McCartney's attorney said that they brought the case to clear McCartney's name. Jackson Hole News and Guide, meanwhile, posted a public apology saying this story should not have been published. He waged a $25 million lawsuit initially, claiming that Jackson Hole News and Guide had called him an abuser, contrary to other evidence and without seeking comment from him.
Aviation consultant David McCartney alleged defamation over a story that didn't give his name but referenced him as an abuser of his son, who is now an adult. He sued the Jackson Hole News and Guide in federal court on December 3rd. Groundhogs don't have to be just ceremonial animals that allegedly predict when spring will arrive. Outdoors reporter Mark Hines spoke to a chef, and he says they can be good eating too.
He's cooked just about everything under the sun. He says that he hasn't cooked a groundhog yet, but if he were to do that, he would recommend smoking it with a pork rub. He says smoking is any kind of wild game, anything that might likely be tough, he recommends smoke it. Take your time, smoke it slowly. My dad and I cooked one over a campfire, which is kind of sort of like smoking it. And I'm not joking. To me, it tasted like chicken, maybe a bit more gamey.
Rick Schuyler, owner of the renowned Pokey's Barbecue in Gillette, who has cooked all manners of critters, says low and slow in a wood-fired smoker is the best way to go. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel or listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for watching. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.